Morning, this is Dr. Brad, your Health Reclaimed, where we expose the roots of Lyme and chronic illness and show you how to actually get some healing in your life. We've been helping people restore their health for 40 years now, and we can generally do that with people that have seen multiple other healthcare workers and never got any help there, and we're able to get the bulk of people well again. So we're doing something a lot different, and we don't address disease process. We deal with root cause and let the body heal itself, and that's really the key. We've been talking with Nan Saysana. Started off being a teacher over in Paris and became a certified life coach. We've been talking about relationships with food that are really disruptive to health and how to address those changes to really start to regain health and to lose weight and actually manage health issues. So it's been really a dynamic talk, and we're going to continue that this morning. So let's jump back in and finish this talk.
Well, I remember, so my grandmother is from Brittany, so west of France, and I remember that in her house, in the garden, there was always this hole in the open where they would put, all the carrots peels, all the leftovers from the food, so that it would create some compost. And then they would take that and put it in, in the field where they would grow the parsley, mint, and so on. And so, yeah, I guess so my grandmother is actually right now 106, and so she's lived through World War II, and so I'm guessing, yes, that she took the habit, she kept the habit of doing this, and and I like that because it's for me for them it was natural. It's just okay. I prepare the food for lunch and I put the things, the leftovers in the compost. That's just natural, and I like that.
Yeah. My wife was raised more that way, and it's interesting how a lot of people have a lot of garbage. Our garbage just comes from packages because we sell products and things like that. But as far as compost, we don't have a compost pile because everything goes to the chickens. And the chickens compost it, and they make a lot more nutritious things for the garden. You take chicken manure, you mix that with leaves, you mix that with the compost that's out there, and it's many times more nutrient dense than just compost.
Oh, super interesting.
So everybody's adding something, and she's always out there with a shovel turning over the chicken yard, and she's got an exercise gym for them out there. It's just really kind of cute to see what she does. I've never seen anybody take care of critters the way that she is. It's her life, and she just loves making things beautiful for one, and just really simple and practical. What I asked you a bit ago, what was your primary way to balance your proteins when you're a vegetarian?
So it was many years ago, but I remember that, for instance, if I was having semolina, which I could have some also lentils, for instance, and or chickpeas, and that was a way to combine two different. Well, I'm not very good in science, but to combine two different things that, when they match, when I eat them together, they would create some protein, which I understood were not exactly the same. As if
each one has protein, but it's not complete. There's 9 essential amino acids that we need to build our proteins, and meat usually has all of those amino acids. So does fish, so does fowl, but plants rarely do. And what you do is you combine different plants that are rich in one area and weak in another with another plant that is rich in the area that one is weak with. Beans or legumes are the number one staple for anybody aiming for vegetarian type of a lifestyle. Any grain will work, But rice is probably the biggest, cleanest staple
Okay.
around the world. Semolina is a wheat product, is it not?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
95% of the hard wheat crop in America is sprayed with Roundup, one of the worst herbicides out there, 3 days to 3 weeks before it's harvested.
Ah,
So it's super toxic,
okay.
super, super, super toxic. And I don't know if there's wheat belts over there in your part of the world where they grow lots of wheat.
I have no idea.
Yeah, the whole Midwest in America is a wheat belt, all the way up into Canada.
Okay.
East Coast, not at all. And when a place is really wet, lots of rain, the
Mm-hmm.
protein count in the wheat is very, very low.
Okay.
It's got to be pretty dry, whereas rice grows in wetlands. And the reason they grow it in the wetlands is then you don't have to weed.
Uh-huh.
The water keeps the weeds from growing.
Okay.
So that's primarily why it's in these just shallow paddies
Mm-hmm.
wherever it's at. But rice is a hyperaccumulator, and whatever toxins are in the soil, it hyperaccumulates those in the grains. So it's very critical on where you get it from.
Okay.
Corn in all the Americas,
Mm-hmm.
North America, Central and South America, they've all been seduced into using lots of herbicides
Okay.
on their crops, especially their corn, because there's a lot of Latino people, mixed race people in America, up in Canada, that everybody loves Mexican food. And so corn tortillas are pretty much a
Mm.
staple over here. But the corn they're made from is toxic.
Okay.
So it's important when you go to try to do a vegetarian
Mm-hmm.
diet to be able to combine those two. We've worked with a lot of vegetarians over the years, and I can't remember one of them that understood how to balance their protein.
Mm-hmm.
The worst case I ever heard of was a woman who called herself a fruitarian.
Okay.
She just ate fruit,
Mm-hmm.
but she only ate one fruit. She loved strawberries, so she just ate strawberries. She became so nutrient depleted after, I think she said it was 6 months. She was in a wheelchair,
Oh,
and she never got out of the wheelchair because she never addressed her issues.
right.
And that's one of the saddest issues when you work with people with dietary things. They don't understand the basic foundations,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got to fix those because
Totally.
we are protein's one of them. You know, the basic issues. Protein makes our structure. 95% of all the cell membranes, so your
Mm.
skin, your mucous membranes, every organ inside of us, 95% of those membranes are oils.
Right.
Your brain is 60% oil after water,
Mm-hmm.
and your whole nervous system is the same thing as far as that goes. All the hormones are built off of oils too. So oil intake is absolutely critical.
Right.
In the Mediterranean, you have access to seafood,
Yes.
and you have what is your omega-3 oils, and you also have access to olive oil is
Exactly.
pretty famous.
Mm.
It's literally the cleanest oil you can find around the world,
Mm.
as long as it's not cut. And I would imagine for you, I don't know if you've looked at this, but I would imagine your olive oil is not cut in Europe.
Yeah, but I know that there are differences. There's pure olive oil, virgin, I think they call it virgin olive oil, and there are also some which are not the same. So I know that we need to pay attention to that too. So I don't know what they're cut with or what's the differences, but I know that we've been told that we could pay attention to that.
When they cut an oil, they
Mm-hmm.
they add a fraction of another oil
Okay.
to expand the volume, but
Mm.
they don't tell the public about it.
Okay.
And one of the biggest oils they cut that with is cottonseed oil. Cottonseed is extremely toxic.
Mm.
Cotton's grown on the East Coast where I live out here, and it's a long history of that. When the slave owners used to get their slaves pregnant, the women would eat cottonseed. It causes them to abort their child
Okay.
because they didn't want to have children born in slavery.
Mm.
And the slave masters would make them drink these concoctions to undo that. And you had this war going back and forth.
Okay.
Cottonseed is one of the most common oils they cut with.
Okay. That's terrible.
It is. And when they first started feeding that back to cows, the cows got sick. They quit producing. They started doing all kinds of things. Instead of outlawing it, taking it out of the industry, they just figured out what maximum they could do without having such a huge negative impact on the cows.
Okay.
And you take all the fry oils, deep fried food is big over here. Every frying oil that I've looked at has cottonseed oil in it. When they cut any oil, whether you're talking olive oil, avocado oil, canola oil, when they cut any oil, it almost always, one of the first things they put in there is cottonseed oil. So you're talking a major way to disrupt people's hormones.
Yes. Yes, and their life. Yeah, that's terrible.
Right. It is. It really is. And the hormones, they affect everything. Years ago, I was doing some research on what kind of function on the cells does just estrogen have. And I finally ran across a honest article that said, it was a research article that said, we know it affects every cell function in the body, but we only study the reproductive functions because that's who pays for the studies and all that. And it's really a shame as far as that goes. But the female hormones control digestion.
Okay.
The male hormones control digestion in the male. Now, you screw those up, the very foundation of taking nutrients is destroyed.
Yeah.
And your health just starts going downhill, which is what happens with all these different foods that people are drawn to. Is it starts to destroy their health in a whole bunch. So you tried the vegetarian, you tried raw, which is usually vegetarian too, although I know a lot of people that eat raw meats, and that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, we do in France. We have this what's it called? Steak tartare, which means that it's raw meat, raw ground beef. But I guess that you know exactly where it's coming from, you know exactly where it's the chain. But still, yes, it's something that's it's special.
Yeah, when they start eating raw organ meats, that's really crazy. Like raw liver is just like, you don't understand what that organ does.
Yeah.
And so what other kind of diets did you try?
Yeah. So, well, of course, I tried diets where I was restricting myself to 1,200 calories per day, things like that. And so I was fixating on the number of calories each thing that I would eat had, and the number on the scale. And I was driving myself crazy with all this focus on. And probably not eating as healthy as I could because, well, you mentioned that oil is an important component. We need oil, but considering that oil or fat has got more calories than than protein or carbs, of course, we kind of neglect purposefully oil, and I didn't feel good.
Yeah. When you look at the history, there's a bunch of different diets out there. Keto kills people, it disrupts hormones, and it really wrecks a lot of people. Paleo kills people. I know one of the biggest, most famous promoters of paleo died at 57 from their second heart attack. And they were well known all over the world for their exercise programs and things along that line. The carnivore, we've known at least one individual that got cancer because they were on that, because it screws up your pH. All of the fad diets, and that's what I wondered if you tried those, they're never successful. People may get a short-term reduction in weight. I worked with one person one time who couldn't do their diet on their own, so they hired a nutritionist to help them with their diet. She'd lost like 35 pounds, and the nutritionist really wondered where that weight came from. Said, well, I can measure that. I put her on one of my machines called a BIA. She'd lost, I think it was 33 pounds of protein, of muscle mass,
Oh, yeah.
and 2 pounds of fat.
Yeah.
And she just was disgusted like you were. She walked out. I never saw her again.
No,
But that's what happens with these bad things.
totally.
It doesn't address the real issue. So
Mm-mm.
what was your turning point that led you to what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I guess the turning point was really finally understanding that food was not really the issue. It was more why I was eating. It was not really about what I was eating, because I agree with you. What I was looking for was short-term fat loss or weight loss, and that was not sustainable. So I think that after trying so many diets again and again, I start again on Monday, I finally understood that that was not sustainable. And actually, I have a client who told me exactly the same thing, that she lost a bunch of weight during COVID, but as she was losing it, she knew that it was not sustainable. And indeed, she got the weight back and some more. And so I think that after a while, for that client, for the clients, but for me, we finally understand that, okay, dieting doesn't work. Dieting is actually make us gain weight instead of losing the weight we want. And it's not, and also it's not technically what we want. We don't want to lose weight because, as you were saying, we don't want to lose muscle mass and look skinny and not being able to stand or just to function right, but we want to lose the fat that is not necessary when we have too much of it. And so I think that's the turning point, was really understanding, okay, enough with the dieting. It sounds so enticing, so compelling, because everybody's talking about diets. I'm pretty sure that in January we'll talk about dieting a lot on TV. There will be commercials, and again, when summer gets near, that will be dieting in one way or another, or like home delivery meals or things like that. But I think I finally got that. No, the dieting, changing what I eat, changing the amount of what I eat, and just focusing on that, it's just like mowing a weed. It's going to grow again. But if I go to the root cause, and I know that one of your guests was talking about that, the symptom is not enough. We need to go to the root cause. Why do we do that? So instead of focusing on the food I was eating and the food I shouldn't eat and the food I shouldn't have eaten, I started focusing on why I was eating when I knew I had just had dinner. So I was not hungry. I knew that. So it was really telling myself the truth. So look, you've eaten, so technically you don't need food. But you want food. So what's going on? Why do you want food? And it was really turning from what I was eating to why I was eating. That was really the turning point, because then I could be curious. And then by being curious, I could understand better what was happening for me and then change it if I wanted to. So it was really shifting that focus. That was really the biggest thing I learned. Another thing was that instead of beating myself up for what I had eaten that I didn't want to eat, learning how to be kind to myself, learning to really understand. Yes, I turned to the chocolate because I love chocolate and I think that chocolate can soothe my sadness or something like that. And so, yeah, it makes sense. I've done that all my life. I've got
Yeah.
lots of people around me who turn to chocolate for pleasure or to feel better. So of course I would do that. And just changing the self-talk in my head from you're a bad person because you're doing things that you said you wouldn't do to, but of course I'll keep doing this because
Something that you said a little bit ago that most people don't understand, and this is a really big one. 1,200 calories is fasting.
yes.
And when you get down into a fasting state, your hormones change.
Mm.
Your hormones will make it so even if you quit eating for a season, you will build fat and build weight
Oh.
because the body hangs on to every single drop of nutrient it possibly can. And it's just screaming. We are in a dangerous fasting situation. We've got to store everything we can.
Mm-mm.
And it'll blank you out
Yeah,
and make you put on a lot of fat, which is totally the opposite of what you want to do.
totally. Yes.
And most people who put on too much weight, it's in hormonal distributions.
Mm.
It's their hormones are messed up that makes them grow. It's not, that's an indirect effect from what they eat, but it's It's not what causes. So that's why you can't starve weight into submission,
Mm.
because it's hormonal dysregulation that
Hmm.
makes people gain weight in different places. And you can tell what that is just at a glance once you understand how to do that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting
Mm-mm.
that you realized after 30 years of wrestling with this
Yeah.
that this isn't my root problem.
Mm.
My root problem's actually up here.
Totally. Yes.
And is that the case you find with most people, is that they're emotional eaters?
Yes, I think so. So, yeah, I agree with you. We turn to food when we've restricted ourselves so much that the body can't take it anymore. And so, yeah, of course, the body asks for more food. And so we turn to food. But most of the time, I agree, it's for emotional reasons. And it may sound very innocent. Most of the time, it's just, oh, but I love cupcakes so much. All right. But if I loved cupcakes so much, then I would have cupcakes all the time. But I don't. Sometimes I sleep. Sometimes I talk with people. I'm not always eating cupcakes. So when I have cupcakes, and most of the time my clients tell me, just like as I was, it's in the evening, when I really want a cupcake night. Why? What's happening? What's going on for me that all of a sudden a cupcake or whatever seems to be the solution? What's my problem? What's going on for me? What am I experiencing in terms of emotions that feel so uncomfortable that I don't want to feel them? And most of the time, again, they sound very innocent. Can be boredom. I don't know what to do, or stress. I've got so much to do. I wish I could have done so much more today, and I've got so much more tomorrow waiting for me. Or it can be just loneliness. I'm all by myself, and it's sad, and things like that. So
Is this the key with how you work with people? Is you go through to try and find out what their emotional triggers are, and
totally.
then you help them deal with those emotional triggers?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I do. Yes. We go back to, just like athletes when they watch a replay, okay, here's what I did, here's what I could have done better.
Hmm.
That's exactly what we do. It's just we go back to a recent example of what happened, and we try to be detectives. It's just, okay, what was happening for you? What was on your mind? And sometimes we don't know because in the moment, and when we're not used to doing that detective work, we don't really know. But I found out that when we take a guess, most of the time it's a pretty good guess. So that's how we find that, oh, yes, somebody said this, or I didn't do that, or I did that, but I wish I hadn't. And we feel all sorts of emotions based on what happened during the day. And that's why we look for comfort in food. Like many people look for comfort in scrolling their phones or watching Netflix, things like that. Mm.
Yeah. So that sounds like an extremely healthy
Mm.
approach to this whole thing of the real reason why people are overweight isn't what they think it is. And you're getting into the emotional side of things, which that drives so much dysfunctional behavior in every different way. And you just find a way to help people process those.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And most of the time, I don't know about you, but when I was raised, I didn't know anything about emotions. My parents didn't know anything about emotions either. So I think also that we can be uncomfortable when we don't know anything about emotion. When somebody's expressing, is having a big emotion, whether it's anger or sadness, and so I learned that it was better if I didn't express my emotions, or even better if I didn't have any emotions. So, but was still being a human being, so I was
Yeah,
having.
that does not work. Women were made to be emotional creatures. It's part of who they are.
Mhm.
They're made to have cycles of hormones, which is part of who they are, and it's those fluctuations and idiosyncrasies that make up our personality
Mm,
and make us really attractive once you understand that.
yeah, yeah, nothing's
So,
wrong. Mm,
yeah, so you're actually helping people become free and comfortable with themselves. And
exactly.
that's your key to working with diet. So that's huge.
Yes.
That's really huge. We will put a link to your contact
Mhm.
with this when we publish it. I'll let you know when that is. And we're running out of time, so we'll close this off here. But it's closing this at a really good place. Any last thing you want to add before we close?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. And yes, I think that the most important message that I really want people to learn, and whether it's around food or any other things, but when we do something and then we are not pleased with ourselves, we tend to be furious with ourselves, to bully ourselves, to be mean to ourselves. But that backfires. That always backfires. We think we're being, mean to ourselves so that we learn our lesson and so on, but actually it perpetuates the cycle that we're also trying to break. So if I had one message, one final message would be really to be curious rather than furious, because that's going to serve you so much better to reach whatever goal you have. Be curious, not furious, please, for yourself.
All right. That sounds good. Well, thanks for joining us today. This has been really a good conversation,
Yeah.
and
Thank you so much for
wish you the
having
best.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This has really been a lot of fun having people on. It really has. It's a good way to expand my own thought process, my own horizons, and bring a lot of variety.
Yeah.
So better bail out. Somebody's going to bounce in with us shortly here. So
Okay. Okay.
we'll close this and have an awesome day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Okay, bye. Okay, so this has been really good. We've looked at a progression on how Nan came from this inquisitive side of wondering how things work, how to teach, to changing that to our own health, and how that's transitioned to help others in their own. Real key with all this is changing of the view of relationship with health, that relationship with food, I mean, where we cannot change our emotions by how we eat. So this emotional eating becomes quite dysfunctional. And just in addressing that and curbing that, it allows us to really start to change the course of our own health and our own life. So hope you listened to this. I hope you really enjoyed this. Put a review on this show. Share it with your friends, and we release these every Monday, Tuesday. Come back for more. There's a link in the notes down below where you can reach out to Nan. And if you're really looking to address major chronic illness, reach out to us at yourhealthreclaimed.com. We can really get you back on the road to restoring your health. So thanks. Have an awesome day.